It was Halloween night, and 3 teenagers, Emma, Jake, and Lily, decided to explore an abandoned house at the edge of their small town. The house had been vacant for over 50 years, and rumors of it being haunted had spread through town for decades. Locals claimed to hear voices and see strange lights coming from the windows late at night. With a dare and a push from Jake, they set off to investigate the so-called haunted house, determined to prove the legends wrong. As they entered through the creaky front door, an overwhelming sense of dread washed over them. The air inside was thick and cold, much colder than it had been outside. Dust coated every surface, and cobwebs hung from the ceiling like curtains. The floorboards groaned with every step they took. As they ventured deeper into the house, Emma felt as though someone or something was watching them. She brushed it off as nerves, but a faint whisper echoed through the empty hallway. None of them spoke, but they all heard it. The group moved cautiously down the narrow hallway, where the temperatures seemed to drop even further. Jake, the bravest of the group, led the way, his flashlight flickering as they walked. They heard a sudden crash coming from a room at the end of the hall. Startled, they froze, their hearts racing. Jake, determined to investigate, opened the door to the room slowly, only to find it completely empty. But in the center of the room was a chair, slowly rocking back and forth, as if someone had just stood up from it. Lily noticed a small door leading to an attic. Curious, she suggested they check it out. Hesitant but intrigued, they climbed the creaky stairs. The attic was even colder than the rest of the house, filled with old trunks and forgotten belongings. As they searched through the attic, Jake stumbled up. When he pulled it off, the temperature seemed to drop even more, and for a split second, he thought he saw a shadowy figure standing behind him in the reflection. But when he turned around, no one was there. As they descended from the attic, the whispering grew louder. The voices were indistinct, but filled with anger and sorrow. Emma, now visibly shaken, asked if they should leave, but Jake insisted they stay a bit longer. The whispering seemed to follow them as they moved through the house. Suddenly, the front door slammed shut with a loud bang, trapping them inside. Panic set in, and Lily rushed to the door, pulling on the handle, but it wouldn't budge. The house seemed to be alive, and it didn't want them to leave. While searching for another way out, they discovered a hidden door in the living room that led to the basement. Emma didn't want to go down, but Jake insisted. They descended into the basement, which was cold, damp, and smelled of decay. In the center of the room was a large wooden chest. As they approached it, they heard faint footsteps behind them, but when they turned, no one was there. Jake, undeterred, opened the chest to find old, yellowed papers and a doll with missing eyes. The doll seemed to radiate a sinister energy. Just as Jake lifted the doll, the air grew heavy, and a cold gust of wind rushed through the room. The temperature plummeted, and a translucent figure appeared in the corner. It was a woman, her face pale and eyes hollow. She stared at them with a look of sorrow and anger, her mouth moving as if she was trying to speak. Emma screamed, and the figure began moving toward them, her movements slow but deliberate. Jake dropped the doll, and the figure paused, vanishing into thin air. In a frenzy, the group bolted out of the basement, racing toward the front door. This time, the door flung open on its own. Without looking back, they sprinted out of the house, panting and terrified. Once they were outside, the house seemed to loom even larger in the moonlight. Its windows darkened. The whispering stopped as soon as they stepped off the property, but the feeling of being watched never left them. They vowed never to return to the haunted house again, but they knew the nightmare wasn't over.